Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast, the audio resource for managers and business leaders creating high-performing teams. Join leadership and team development experts Jen and Michelle Turkelson each week as they explore both subjects from every angle. Through practical tips, valuable insights, and compelling interviews with leadership experts around the world, you'll learn how to bring out the best in your staff and how to give your best as a leader.
Are you ready to discover the fundamentals of leading people and managing tasks and how to really get that balance right? So if so, then you definitely need to know about the upcoming round of our flagship Leadership Essentials program, and it starts on the 15th of April. Yay! Leadership Essentials is a program like no other. We've combined 6 carefully created online learning modules with live interactive group coaching that really support you to put the knowledge and the content into practice in your work environment. Yeah, from day one. So if you're an established leader, if you're looking to brush up on the fundamentals of leadership, or you're an emerging leader looking to build a solid foundation for yourself, then Leadership Essentials will be the best professional development choice you make this year. Yeah, so if you want to find out more, go to yourleadershipessentials.com. That's yourleadershipessentials.com, and really discover your purpose in leading people.
So, hello, Michelle. How are things?
Oh, very well, thank you, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. So what trees have you planted lately? So now that we know that you're on the farm and getting...
Oh, yeah, COVID... no, I'm doing some fruit trees at the moment. So I've got a little orchard happening, and I'm just loving it. Getting, dirt under my nails is very satisfying.
Yeah. And we've been running a couple of coaching sessions this week, and the topic has been, so what have you started and continued to do during COVID? And it really is an opportunity to do a bit of a reset and a reflection on what's working for you and what hasn't been. And is this something that you want to continue outside of COVID, because things are starting to open up?
Oh, without a doubt, a lot of people that I've been talking to have changed up their exercise and health routine as a result of COVID, like maybe getting outdoors because it's such a wonderful, opportunity to get off the screen. And so they're starting to run, and they've never run before. And people are, training for marathons. It's fantastic. Really good opportunity to flex your style, actually.
Well, this is what COVID has delivered as a gift. Yeah, the gift of flexibility. So this morning's, or it's our morning, but our guest's evening. We've just been talking to Amber, and I'm just going to introduce Amber. We're really looking forward to this interview because we've just had a bit of a discussion with Amber, and her personality and her energy is going to come full throttle through this. So we're really looking forward to it. So Amber Hurdle helps leaders confidently define their position and their value so they can really maximize their influence, their focus and results. And what leader doesn't want that? She is a dynamic professional speaker, and she's the CEO of Amber Hurdle Consulting. And it's a multi-award-winning talent optimization firm that she pioneers using both science and marketing principles to strengthen brands and leaders from the inside out. And when we hear that combination, our ears prick up, and we start to get really excited. Like Amber really understands what it takes to accelerate success. And as a former teen mum who evolved into a powerhouse businesswoman, having worked with international celebrities, executives, and Fortune 100 companies alike, this is someone that we really want to hear from. So welcome, Amber.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to wave across the pond to y'all, way across.
And so where are you waving from so our listeners can hear?
So I'm just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. You can hear probably a little twang in my voice. I'm originally from California.
We love it, yeah.
So some people call me a Valley Belle, so half Southern Belle, half Valley Girl. But I'm in Central Time, and we have daylight savings, so it is dark outside very early now, which is sad but true.
Yeah, sad but true. Great. Well, thank you for coming on our podcast and allowing Michelle and I to kind of like pick your brains. And as we've been speaking before, the people who are listening to our podcast are really interested in their professional development and leadership development. And some of them are leading teams, some of them are leading organisations and business units. And we wanted to explore some of these concepts around personal brand and what can leaders do to really maximize and elevate their personal brand. So we'd just be interested in some of your thoughts. And a lot of the people who listen to us are very practically minded. So it's like, okay, what can I do Monday morning with this information? So yeah.
Yes. As much as I'd love to sing Kumbaya and hold hands with everybody and just think about these theories, like if you can't put it into action, it's not really helping anybody, right? So I think it's important to understand why you need a personal brand and what that does for you to motivate you to really do the digging. When I think about personal branding, especially in the context of being within an organization and not like somebody like me who, has her face on a book or whatever, it's about positioning your value so that you can attract the right people and opportunities, so you can influence well, whether that is your team, whether that's laterally influencing other departments, getting buy-in, or if that's leading up. And so if we know that, then it becomes less about a dog and pony show. And it's more about, okay, what is it? How do I dig in here and figure out what value I bring to this company so that I can help with the big picture? And so people can quickly identify me as that. What are people saying about me when I'm not in the room? That's how Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, of course, we've all heard that quote. That's what he says. So the first thing that I like to take leaders through is I invite them to follow their breadcrumbs. So Hansel and Gretel, before they, dealt with the witch, they left breadcrumbs so that they could find their way back home. And we tend to do that in life. I mean, there are times where I will deliberately post something on Facebook so that it'll show up in my memories to leave a breadcrumb for myself. We can do that with our strengths and with our talents. So I say, go all the way back to childhood. Who were you in your family? Were you the jokester? Were you the person that held everybody together? Were you maybe the one that was the superstar? What was that dynamic? You can do that through junior high, high school, college. You could do it through your early career. You'll find people who are like, say, accountants, and you think are, they're just bean counters. But they were the person who always planned like the holiday events. They were the ones who wrestled that up. They were the ones who did the company-wide Christmas giving program, which shows you, okay, you might be an accountant, but you have this whole other side of you that is very people-oriented, that's very altruistic. And so it helps you start seeing some themes. Sometimes people don't get there just with that. So then I say, okay, now I want you to look at your body of accomplishments. What awards have you won? How have other people externally validated you? I like for them to validate themselves first, as just put a little pause on that. Yeah. But to be able to look out and say, what awards did I win? What did people say in my annual reviews? What did somebody saying a speech about me? What did I accomplish in terms of I had a marketing campaign that went well and that reached 60 million impressions? When you can start adding up all those different things that you've accomplished over your career, again, you'll start seeing a pattern of what does that mean for me? And then the one question that I invite everyone, and if you're listening to this podcast, I dare you to do it. I want you to email, post it on Facebook, post it on LinkedIn, tag me, say Amber Hurdle asked me to ask my community, what's the one thing that I undervalue about myself?
Ooh, love that.
Here's what happens. We don't always know how to use our superpowers on ourselves, and we can't see the forest for the trees. But other people can look at you and say, oh, I wish that you would just recognize this more about you. Whether it's your family, your friends, your colleagues, usually there's some theme in that too. And it's surprising how you might get some one-offs, but by and large, somebody might say like, you're very empathetic. Somebody else might say you're compassionate. Somebody might say, you have this tough woman image, but what I know about you is you're really soft inside and you do that because you care about people. Well, that's all said in 3 different ways, but it's really the same concept. So that helps a lot. And if you're going to go back through your breadcrumbs, I also like to ask people, when you changed something about yourself in junior high to fit in, what was that? Because what do we do in junior high? We negate what's special about us. We don't want to stick out. We want to fit in, and we go from chunky monkey or moose tracks to vanilla so that we can be with the popular kids or whatever that is. And then we let go of that special thing. And then we get into adulthood and everybody's like, you need to find your special thing. What's your superpower? And it's like, I don't know. I had to give that up in junior high. Yeah. So that's another place to go. I hope those tactics help somebody do a little homework this week.
They've helped us immediately. So the first one I love, because Jan and I are really big on asking for feedback, and particularly managers, we have this mindset, because I'm the manager, my duty of care is to, give feedback all the time. However, what we do know is that when you can start to invite and ask feedback, that is the real opportunity to grow, because we all have blind spots. And what I love about your question is sometimes, we're talking about blind spots that are, negative, that I need to work on and overcome. But I love that. What is the one thing that I undervalue about myself is such a beautifully enriching question, an affirming question that you're asking others. And so I love the fact that we could now start to incorporate that when we ask leaders to ask for feedback. It's a wonderful question to, to uncover that blind spot, because we all have them, don't we? The good, the bad, and the other. Yeah. Yeah.
One of my interview questions is always, are you comfortable pushing back? Because if you're not, I don't want you working for me because I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm moving too fast. I'm hiring you to be an expert. So push back. So I love that feedback.
Yeah. And that's interesting, Amber, because when we talk about high performing teams, there are a couple of key behaviors that we see. And one of them is having really robust conversations where you do push back, where you feel safe enough and confident enough to not agree and have a position that's different to everyone else in the group. And that's what leadership is about as well. Yeah. So having that ability.
I was just going to parlay on that. The thing about having a strong personal brand is that you can, again, it's about defining and positioning your value. So if you understand your value and then you're in a meeting and you feel like you should push back because with your personal experience and what you're meant to bring to the table in this organization, if you don't share that piece of information, it's more like, how dare you not share that than don't ruffle anybody's feathers or don't step on toes, because you understand this is my contribution. If I don't say this, then they don't get to receive the value of my contribution.
Oh, that's so good. Well, working with the leadership team at the moment, actually, and they're just starting to come together, and I'm having one-on-ones with all of them. And one of the questions I ask them is, what do you individually, what do you uniquely bring to this team? And for some of them, it was like, oh, okay, I really have to think about that. And there was this interesting balance between competence and character. So some of them, I've got skills in this, this, and this, and then didn't really explore, the personal element that they brought to the team, because we all have, that balance of those two. And so I love the fact that, it all starts with us, doesn't it? Like, how well do we know ourselves? Which I know I am rambling on a little bit here, but I'm thinking, of our audience. Jan and I are personality experts, and we talk about introversion, extroversion all the time. And people with a preference for introversion say sometimes, well, it's really difficult. Well, I find it challenging to exert my personal brand because I don't like to, be in front of people and, put myself out there and up there. It's just not who I am. Can you give some strategies or ideas for those people who aren't like that to still position themselves in a positive light?
For sure. It's so interesting that you say that, because I created my own leadership personality quiz. And one of the reasons why I did that is because I wanted to empower all leaders, not just the ones that had the jazz hands and fireworks, but all leaders, the quiet leaders, the ones who might be more of I am really in support of what the entire group wants, not necessarily what my idea would be. The type of leader who might be a little more introspective, they're not necessarily the one that's going to like spitball ideas with you. They might need a little time to think it through. And so use that superpower. If you are an introspective person, then you can say things like, you know what, I really want to put some serious thought around that. Let's circle back tomorrow. And then I know I'll have some meaningful contribution to that. Then they show up with their immense listening skills, their immense ability to take in all the different aspects and not just have an opinion, but have it backed by reasoning. Now you're positioning yourself as somebody who is a thoughtful leader. The other tool that I like to give, whether you're extroverted or introverted, but it tends to help the introverts a little bit to feel empowered, is to use the power of storytelling. So I like to give an example of a woman that I had in one of my audiences, and I was trying to like narrow the audience down to one person that can do this one thing, and it was her. And so what I discovered is that she attended a leadership, it was like an executive leadership program at Dartmouth University, which is a prestigious university. And so she could go into a meeting and be like, oh, well, I went to Dartmouth, and so I should be in charge of this program. That's not how that works. But she could say, this sounds like an exciting project. When I was at Dartmouth, our team in the leadership training program or the executive leadership program worked on something similar to this. We did X, Y, Z, which got us the results of A, B, C. I think we can apply that same principle to this, and I would love to have the opportunity to do that. Now everybody in the room is going, whoop, we got the person who knows what to do. She's in charge, as opposed to, oh, she's so arrogant. She's always talking about Dartmouth. And that's what quiet leaders are afraid of is ego taking over. They don't want to be considered arrogant. And really what it is when you're leading from a place of sincerity, it's just an act of service. You're using your gifts and your experience in service to others. So that works and I'm an extrovert. I'm not full of myself most days, but I am somebody who could get out there and be like, blah, blah. But that's not what it's about. It's about serving people.
And the way in which you explain that, I think it had some really key elements to people who are presenting information. You know, there was a story to it. There was experience. You had data. There was a sequencing that, you know, the 1, 2, and 3. So it allowed the brain time to go, okay, I know where we're heading now. I feel safe enough to really listen and lean in. And I think that's an important part too, is that you had data, because when we look at personality, there are 4 senses to everyone intuit, and the senses love data. And you talk about people data. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Sure. So the way that I look at any internal organization is the way that everyone looks at external marketing. External marketers who are trying to gain market share collect data, whether it's cookies on a website or you use a loyalty card, whatever that looks like. They're collecting data in order to inform their strategy, their marketing strategy. They're not going to spend money trying to market to this group if the data doesn't support that. Well, internally, we need to do the same thing as we're recruiting and retaining our human capital, our team members. So if we don't, and I love that y'all are all about personalities because we need to have that data on our teams. Now there's all kinds of different data that you can use, but like y'all, I like psychoanalytic tools. So if I can have an understanding of who's on my team and what their innate needs are in a work environment and how that drives their behavior, now I'm going to know if I want your finger on the nuke button or if I want you leading the sales team. There's very different personalities. And when you do that, you can start finding the holes. And when you find the holes, now you know who you need to hire in. And when you know that this is the type of behavioral profile that I need, and maybe you could do a personality one too, that's more about like, you know, how you show up in the world. I do both. But you can start to put together an ideal employee profile, just like you'd put together an ideal customer profile. And then when you're interviewing, you interview against that, not do I like you? Do we like the same football team? Like it's about not can you do the job? Not does your resume say that, but will you do the job and will you do it well over time?
Oh, so that's interesting. So Amber, if I was I'm a manager and I don't have a big HR team behind me that does all the hiring and firing and whatever, and I want to hire for a new position, how could I use that information and what you offer in order to put together a behavioural profile that would help me, recruit the right person?
Absolutely. I just did this with a one-on-one client. So we'll just use that as an example and not say who it is. So this particular, it's a PR marketing world, and there are people on the team who are big personalities. They're great with people. Maybe they don't dot every I and cross every T. And so we need somebody checking the accuracy of the work. There's not anybody who really wants to get behind a computer every day and analyze data and look at trends. That's not really what they're into. And so what I know about this particular person is we need somebody who is team oriented. We need somebody who doesn't need to drive their own ideas forward. We need somebody who likes the collective idea and will execute against that. I know that this person does not need to be very extroverted. They don't need a lot of social activity because they're going to be stuck behind a computer all the time. We need an introspective, analytical person. So those two things you can ask through behavioral type questions fairly easily. The next two things that I wanted her to look out for, a little different. The drive of, am I a creator of change or an implementer of change? That's a little bit harder to identify. And so in the world of PR, I said, just simply ask them, what is your average day? Now, if I'm a driver of change and I like competing priorities and I want every day to look different, I'm going to be like, oh, girl, in PR, it's never the same day twice. Done. I know your drive. If you come in and say, well, wouldn't it be nice if every day was the same? In my ideal world, it would be this, this, and this. And every Tuesday would be Taco Tuesday, and I'd take the same route every single day. But not every day does that. And I get disrupted all the time, but I always get back on track. That person is going to be somebody who's more methodical. They're going to want to make sure that things are done the same way repeatedly over time. The fourth thing that I want them to look at is this person a rule follower or a rule breaker? Are they going to dot every I and cross every T, or are they going to be like, ish, it's good? That type of person, the key question is, explain your process behind whatever that is that matters most to you. If they nerd out and give you every step by step and are elated and joyful and telling you what their process is, hire that person. Because if you have somebody that you are really counting on for the accuracy of something, that's your person. If somebody's like, oh yeah, I do this ish and kind of like that, and yep, that person's, go put them in sales, go put them, it's something that doesn't really require a lot of detail oriented, get it right, strive for excellence kind of work. And I'm not that, I'm a rule breaker through and through. So I'm not picking on anybody, but different. I have people who complement me on my team who do dot every I and cross every T and make sure that we get everything right. I stay high level. So through those, I like to use actual scientific data. I like to use I'm a certified partner with the Predictive Index. We have a tool that we use. It happens automatically. When you're hiring, you can just lay it across the behavioral profile that you want to hire for, and it's a yes or no answer. But not everybody can do that. And so we have to ask the questions and listen for the truth.
And when you ask someone, the day in the life of, you're actually getting behind the curtain about who this person is. And like you were saying, like, what are those main drivers of what their needs are as well. Michelle, have you got a final question for Amber? Because I'm really interested in her aspect around leadership.
So am I. I do. I've been on your website and I'm having a look around. It's so interesting. And I still, where did you come up with, and I know there's a little bit off topic, where did you come up with the velvet machete? Like, what's that about?
In my 20s, actually, when I went back to school to get my public relations degree, I left my marketing position in an upscale fitness center and got my personal training certification. And so I had a particular client who wanted to lose weight, and he said that he wanted to live a long time for his grandkids. So he was retired, super cool guy. And he would come in, he would do the work, and then I would check his nutrition journal. And one day I just said to him, listen, you cannot eat a ribeye and down 3 bourbons every night and think that you're going to live a long life to play with the grandchildren. So do you want this or do you not? Because if this is what you say your goal is, and then I'm going to be your trainer, I'm going to have to fire you because everybody else is going to think that I'm not getting you results and you're not getting you results. And he said, I don't know why, but I love it when you talk to me that way. It's just your velvet machete. Yeah. And I was like, so they started calling me Velvet Machete. It followed me around in life. And then I realized, really, that's what I teach people to do. That was a little harsh with him, but I do teach people to be direct.
Yeah.
Nobody has time to wait around for you to get to your point. You have to be direct, but you have to position your message in a way that's appealing to that unique audience. So how you talk to one person is going to be different than how you talk to another person. You still withhold your brand, but you're just shifting your message slightly according to your audience.
Yeah, it's still constructive. Yeah, to the point, but constructive. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested in 2 questions I've got for you, Amber, is that you are a master at being able to retain customers and employees and help people. What is the number one strategy to retain both customers and employees? Because, like retaining talent is so important.
Absolutely. So it goes back to really amplifying your culture and doing that through your communication and your engagement. So I like to use Southwest Airlines as an example. I know that's not maybe something that works in your neck of the woods, but maybe we should use American Express. That's worldwide. Let's talk about American Express. They retain their customers and we pay out the wahoo for our platinum cards because of the level of service that they provide us, because they live their culture. When you call them, when you're on customer service with them, you can feel the culture infusing through them. Every single person, has that woven through their daily operations. So we can't put our culture like, oh, I got the culture, let me put it in the drawer. We're done. It has to be when you're hiring, you have to hire to the culture. You have to speak to the culture. When you are coaching, counseling, and disciplining, you have to do the culture. When you are recognizing and rewarding, you have to speak to the culture. When you're talking about customer feedback, talk about how that was a symbol of how you lived out the culture. And if you do that, you're strengthening the family. So from an external brand, they talk about like building tribes and, really having like that customer experience where you have raving fans, but you need that same thing inside too. People don't want to leave a family. They'll leave a bad boss. They'll leave maybe for more money, but they're not going to leave a family where they know that their values and how they do life aligns with everyone that they get to work with every day, because we work more. We spend more time with the people we work with than we do the people at home.
Yeah. And we've found the most successful organisations that we've worked with are the ones that talk about their values in performance discussions, in, acknowledgement conversations. They just weave it in and in their strategy. When they're talking about strategy, they talk about their values, which is a significant impact for culture, creating that culture.
And mission and vision. Just think about like a conversation. Johnny, you're late again. You're always late. Okay, great. Fantastic. I'm in trouble again. I'm late. So much different than, Johnny, this is the 3rd Thursday that you've been late. And we all value teamwork. That's one of our values. And Cynthia has been unable to pick up her son on time because you continuously are late. I know you don't want to let Cynthia down. What do we need to do to honor the value of teamwork? It's not about Johnny being a jerk. It's not about Cynthia being a princess. It's not about I'm having a bad mood. There's no emotions involved. It's we all have agreed in this company that teamwork is a principle, and you agreed to that, and you don't want to let anybody down. Now it's about this bigger thing.
Yeah. And it's so constructive, and he doesn't feel less than. I love that. And you've outlined the impact that his behavior is having. And then it's, over to you now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very good.
Do you want to own that? That's, what's your plan? What's your plan?
Yeah. So what do you think is the biggest mistake leaders are making today? When we're talking about, values and culture and being able to have those, constructive conversations, if we were to kind of like mask that into one thing, what do you think is the biggest mistake?
What I would have said 6 months ago is different than what I'm going to say tonight.
Right.
This is going to be the first time.
Drum roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I might even put myself in this category at times. But I think right now where the world is, we get so busy and so overwhelmed and so self-focused on what's going on in my life and my responsibilities and what I'm trying to get done every day, that we forget the people who are leading are looking to us to infuse them with energy too. It is such a luxury to be able to have a compounding, rippling effect in the lives of the people that we lead.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to just take a big step back and say, this isn't about getting things done in the day for the day. It's about how I lead this person is how they're going to go home and lead, and how their community is going to be led, and how the little league team is going to be led. And it's so much bigger than my to-do list.
That's a beautiful.
The world's crazy right now.
Yeah. And this word has come up quite a lot in our conversation is value. You're valuing that person, you're valuing their contribution, and as a leader, that's how you bring value, to lift everyone else up, so that's been wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been such a really energizing, but also reflective conversation, for all of us about, the value that we bring to every interaction that we have and the importance of, authentic leadership. So, Michelle,
Absolutely.
What's the biggest takeaway for you?
Oh, I've got lots, but I just love the feedback question. What's the one thing that, I undervalue about myself, and I can, hopefully we're okay to use that, Amber, and I'll cite you.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, I've written it down too.
Yeah, love it. Yeah.
So, Amber, is there anything else that you would like to share with us if people want to reach out to you? Where's the best place?
I would love for you to take my leadership quiz. There is no opt-in required because I don't like to go to parties I'm not invited to. If you want it, it's your choice. So it's amberhurdle.com/leadership quiz, and you'll get your result. And I tell you two things. One, what is likely the most influential part of your personality? And two, what you might want to consider bubble wrapping. There's nothing weak about you. There's nothing broken. There's just some more fragile areas that might not be as helpful to use in certain circumstances. And so you need to put processes or environments around that to bubble wrap it and fortify you against potential threats.
Okay, so we are going to do that. Michelle's going to do it, and I'm going to do it, and then we're going to compare.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait
Watch this space. All right. Thank you so much, Amber. We really appreciate your time, energy, and experience. That was really fruitful.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
You've been listening to the People Leaders Podcast with Michelle and Jan Turkelson. For show notes and other free resources, please visit us at peopleleaderspodcast.com. Do you know someone else who could benefit from cutting-edge leadership and management techniques? Please take a moment to share this and other episodes via your podcast app, email, or social media channels. Each share helps us fulfill our goals of reducing workplace stress and increasing job satisfaction for leaders, managers, and their teams worldwide. The People Leaders Podcast is brought to you by the Experts On Air Podcast Network.